Welcome to the British Motor Museum here in Gaydon in the United Kingdom. Now I'm here today for two reasons. One, because it's the National Slot Car Festival which takes place every year and anything slot car will be found here. But the main reason I'm here is to interview Gary Skipp, the race director of the 24-hour Slot Car Le Mans. These are questions that we've had from people all over Europe, sometimes all over the world in fact, Brazil. I get questions all the time since uploading the video. So the first thing is that most people are asking is, how did this all come about?
This all came about quite simply because I'm a huge fan of the Le Mans 24 Hours. So I've been doing slot car racing as a hobby now for something like, let's see, 15 years probably. During that time I got involved with club racing, and one of the events that I wanted to do was the HO scale Le Mans 24 Hours. So that's an event run by the Derby HO Racing Club. They run at the Rolls-Royce Leisure Facility.
Okay.
And they build a big replica of the Le Mans circuit. It's 8 lanes, routed in wood, and it's as big as our circuit that you've seen in the videos.
Really?
Yeah, and that's for HO cars that are this big.
Wow.
Now they have the advantage that they don't run in the dark.
Right.
Because that would make them very difficult to see.
Right, yeah.
They're difficult enough to see.
They're like that,
but,
right, yeah, absolutely.
But, they run in the light. So I've done that event maybe 7 or 8 times, probably.
Okay.
Loved it immediately, but my first thought was, I've got to do this in 30-second scale, which is the main size for Scalextric cars.
Right.
The options for me to be able to do that were to either do it as an analog race, which means I would have to have a 6-lane or an 8-lane track, or if I wanted more than 8 cars I would need to double the tracks, mirror them. It's quite common to butterfly mirror the tracks for big races.
Okay.
And I wasn't interested in doing that because I wanted to build Le Mans, and Le Mans is not an 8-lane motorway.
Right.
And Le Mans is not in reverse and mirrored.
Right, okay.
And digital slot car racing was an emerging technology at the time. And because it allowed you to race multiple cars on the same lane, I thought this could possibly be a way to do it.
Okay.
But the only real systems then were Scalextric, which you could race 6 cars on, Carrera, which was 4 or 6, depending on which version you got. SCX, you could race 6 or 8 on, but the compatibility with other brands was nil.
Right.
And there was an Inco system as well, but none of them gave me what I wanted, because if you can only race 8 cars, then you can do that with analog.
Yes.
You just have more lanes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay, righto. Okay.
So I didn't really do anything for a while. I kept racing at Derby for my Le Mans fix, and then I came here to the UK Slot Car Festival.
Right.
The first time that it was run in Gaydon, and right at the end of the day, I walked past the Slotted stand, and they had a small rectangular track, as big as this table. I'm sure the viewers can't see, but it wasn't that large. And it was a prototype for their digital system, which was called Oxygen.
Right,
which is wireless digital
that
system.
Was here at this
That was
event?
here at this festival.
Wow, okay.
I'd read about this on slot car forums and stuff, so I was vaguely aware of it. And I was with Alex as well. We both spent the day at the festival together when it was one day only.
Right, okay.
And it was literally, we were walking out the door, and I just said, "Oh, look, Oxygen." I said, "Look, let's give it a go." So I picked up the controller, I squeezed the trigger, and the car responded like an analog car would respond.
Right, okay.
Because the digital technology at that time, there was lag in the throttle.
Right,
and the cars don't feel very connected when you drive them.
Interesting.
So I drove the car, I was like, that's a good start. It feels like an ordinary car to drive.
Yeah.
Press the lane change button and the car changed lanes. I thought, okay,
Right.
It responds. Because the other systems, again, the performance wasn't really there.
Right. So the Oxygen system was already efficient.
Yeah, it
in that
was.
respect.
Basically, I used it and I thought, this works.
Right. Right.
And then I said to Maurizio, how many cars does Oxygen support? He said 20. I looked at Alex, I said, this is it.
Right.
So we went home from the festival, we said, let's do Le Mans on Oxygen.
Yeah.
And then we said, no, that's crazy. we can't do that, that'd be stupid.
So you'd already got it in your mind at that point, right?
In my mind, it had been at the back of my mind since forever. Because it was something I wanted to do, but I didn't have the means to do it.
Right.
As soon as I tried Oxygen and I realised how capable it was, I thought, this is how we do it.
Right, right.
So Alex and I talked, as mates talk, about actually doing this properly. We decided on a couple of essential things we needed, such as a venue, a financial structure that would make it viable, and how we would present it.
Right, okay.
When I found those things, got it, and said, okay, we'll announce the race. Announced the race, and that was it. That's how it began.
How did you announce it then? What was your route to?
We used Slot Forum only.
Right. Okay.
We posted the event in the event section.
Okay.
But then simultaneously, I wrote a news article.
Okay.
Which had a different spin on it. The event topic was this is an event. This is how you sign up.
Right.
The news article was, 2 guys from England are going to build a 300-foot Le Mans circuit, and it's going to be decorated, and it's going to be digital, and it's going to be dark at night, and this is the first time that any of these things have ever been done.
And this is it. This is groundbreaking. Then at this point,
yes,
no one's done it. That's phenomenal. Right. Okay. And that was about 6 years ago, wasn't it? 6-7 years ago. Is that?
Yeah. The first race was 2012. Right. So the festival that we went to was 2011 festival.
Right.
And then we planned it during the summer of 2011, basically, and announced it in September for the following year.
Right, okay. And did you expect people from all over Europe to come in and do this, or were you expecting just local clubs?
We had no expectations, but we desperately wanted 10 teams because that would make it financially viable.
Right.
But we had no idea.
Right.
We thought we could be the only guys there. We just didn't know.
Right. Wow. And then you got these responses. Did you immediately get responses from other countries, or was it just initially from local clubs?
Honestly, I find it hard to recall now.
Okay.
We had 3 or 4 initial inscriptions, like within 24 hours.
Okay.
And then the rest sort of trickled through over the next 6-8 months.
Right.
The first international team we got, I remember being astounded. Thought, wow, someone's going to travel from Italy to come and race on our track. That we've never done this before. Oxygen wasn't even available to buy.
Really?
Really. We forced Maurizio to release a system so people could buy stuff.
Wow.
That wasn't intentional. That was a case of, in our initial planning, we asked him when it would be available, and we worked to those dates. Now, inevitably, things slip.
Yeah.
But we were firm. We were like, well, this is going ahead now. Yeah.
You'd committed, and his date slipped. So he had to get his act together and basically. Wow, a real test of the system. I mean, it's a real test of anything. It's a real test of a human being. From what I've seen, people literally dying on their feet doing this. Yes. So, right, okay, we're going to have a look at the track. So this is a quick tour of the track.
So this is the start from the straight, and you come what would normally be up the hill to Dunlop.
Right.
And then over the crest of the hill, down towards the S's.
Yeah.
And then round here onto Tertre Rouge, which is the start of the Mulsanne Straight.
Okay.
Which is nice to see it properly straight here.
So this is your last chance.
Yep. Last chance to change
lanes.
Before you're stuck behind someone for the whole Mulsanne Straight. If you get stuck behind a slower car, then you are stuck for the entire length of the Mulsanne Straight.
So on here we can go at full speed because obviously you don't have to worry about safety, I guess, from that point of view.
And the drivers used to love it in a way because they had a little moment to relax, because it's not difficult to just plant a foot and go for it. You need to pay attention, but you're not on it, judging, braking, all those sort of things.
Right.
As you razz down this straight.
Yeah. Well, I suppose what I've got to keep in mind here is, though, with these cars, because it's scaled down, they've only got 6 seconds max, probably. 5 seconds.
Yep. Yeah.
To relax,
to shake out the legs in those 6 seconds.
Yeah.
And then you come to the Mulsanne Kink, which is this section here, which the drivers in the real race used to do flat out, so 250 mile an hour, didn't lift, just power through.
Right.
And then heavy on the brakes down to Mulsanne Corner.
Okay.
Dropping right down, nice slow corner here.
So this is a real potential crash area then, really?
Yes, yeah, to get that braking distance right. And as you exit here, this is now the fastest section, heading down towards Indianapolis.
Right.
And then as we go through the trees here, this is where the 99 Mercedes flipped out, just here.
Right.
As it came down towards Indianapolis. And then this is the slowest part of the circuit. So you've got Indianapolis corner, and then you've got Arnage corner, which is one of my favourite places to watch the race. And then you head up along here towards Porsche curves. Great place to watch high speed action here.
Right, okay.
And then they come up, slightly uphill over what will be a bridge here, and then downhill.
What's this section?
This is still Porsche.
Right.
In the old days, this would have been Maison Blanche.
Right.
When it was an all road circuit.
Okay.
Now this is from Porsche round to Tertre Rouge is the off-road part of the circuit. So this is pure track.
Right.
Whereas all the rest of it is normally road.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay.
So through the chicanes into the start-finish straight
back
again.
Into start-finish. Excellent. And there we go. So it's a hell of a track, but who owns it?
I own it.
Right. So you own all of that. That it fills a whole hall.
Yes.
So how did you just sort of think, right, I've got a whole hall to fill here, I'm going to go out and buy some track?
Well, we modelled the event on the HO event.
Right.
Because their track is the same size, same hall. So when we planned the event, we said we need a hall this size and a track this size.
Right.
So when we decided we were going to do it, I designed the track. I designed it in a program called Ultimate Racer.
Okay.
Which is quite interesting because I then overlaid Google satellite of the track, and I had to move Arnage corner one straight to the left, and it fitted. And I thought that's pretty impressive.
That is pretty impressive.
So that's just me giving a humble brag
Google
there.
Maps to to make.
No, I didn't use it. I designed the track myself. I think this should go here. I think this should go there.
Right.
And when I overlaid it,
yes,
I had to make one change.
So that amount of track, it must take one heck of a lot of storage and packaging. I mean, each year, I'm presuming each year you sort of pack it all away and have to store it somewhere. But I still can't get my head round that you just went out and bought that amount of track.
What we did was put an inventory together, everything we needed.
Right.
And then we spoke to Pendle Slot Racing, who are one of the main suppliers in the UK for.
What make of track is it?
It's Ninco track.
Ninco.
Ninco, which is Spanish.
Okay.
And we chose Ninco because it's wider, it's got a better texture, track surface texture for grip. The rails conduct better.
Right.
The slot is deeper. Ninco is generally regarded as the best plastic track for competitive racing.
Interesting. Right. Okay.
So we had our inventory, and I said to Sean, who runs Pendle, do us a quote, this is what it's for. We had a figure in mind,
right, loosely,
and the figure he came back with was within a reasonable amount of the figure we had in mind.
Right.
So we said, yeah.
So you were taking the financial risk yourself then entirely. You're saying, I'm going to go and buy all this track.
Yeah.
And if nobody turns up,
well, to be honest with you, John, I will never get the money on the track back.
No.
The track isn't part of the financial model.
No, right.
And a lot of people make the assumption that when we charge them £225 to come and race, they're paying for that track, and they're not. They're paying for the hall and the facility.
Yes.
I own the track and will never get that money back.
Right. So you are effectively the Bernie Ecclestone of this event, aren't you, to a degree?
Yes. Much better looking.
Yeah. But yeah, and quite a bit younger.
Yes.
But you are right. Okay.
Yeah, much taller. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. So the big question then about the track, then, just staying one more question on the track. How long does it take you to build it?
To put the Ninco track down, so just the black stuff, takes us 50 minutes, would you say, Martin?
Well, that's pretty quick.
50 minutes.
Pretty quick.
We'll have a car running around within an hour to check that it works.
Wow, okay.
To do all the rest of it takes 11 hours.
11 hours?
So all the scenery, the crash barriers, the buildings, the stage the drivers stand on, the tables for them to pit their cars.
11 hours.
Yeah.
And is that two of you and Alex Jones, or is that more people?
It's not. It's myself and Alex. Martin Thorpe from Corn and Melton comes and helps us every time.
Right. Okay.
Usually gets lumbered with doing the Armco on the Mulsanne Straight. We know how much he loves that job.
Yeah. That's a thought, actually, because that Mulsanne Straight is so long. Someone's got to put Armco. I've just thought about that. You just assume that it's there, but someone's got to put it all the way down the straight.
And a piece of Armco is this long.
Yes.
And the Mulsanne Straight is 22 metres long. So,
it's a phenomenal thing.
We have 4 or 5 people building the track.
Right.
And there's no point in us having any more, because we all know what we're doing. Right. We've got a plan, and we just follow it.
Right. Okay. And one last question on theoretical track. What's the practical size limit, do you think? If someone said to you, if you wanted to do it here in the Heritage Centre, and you have all that down there, the whole lot, you couldn't build it any bigger than what you've already got then?
No. The two issues are visibility.
Yeah.
So if you were to double the size of our track, when those cars are 40 metres away from where you are standing to see it, you will have no idea which car is yours, what lane it's on, if what you're looking at is a corner or a straight.
Got you.
So you need to be able to see what you're doing.
To be able to physically see what you're driving, to be honest.
Secondly is the transmission power for the wireless system. So that's oxygen. This won't apply for analog racing or maybe other kinds.
Right.
Maurizio had told me he wasn't certain the transmission power of the system would even reach around the hole that big.
Right.
It does.
Right. It does. Yeah. So, but when you
if we're going to double or triple or whatever the size, now oxygen is the most powerful radio transmission wireless system on the market. Yeah. So nothing's going to beat it in that sense. Right. But eventually it will run out of power. Right. Excellent. Really interesting stuff. So teams, I'm going to just show a quick video on the teams now.
Right, this is one of the hotly tipped teams for this particular race this year, Striker Racing. This is Demon Slot, won the GT3 this year, earlier back in just about a month ago. This is the team from Wales, first time they've entered in this competition. They've got their 24-hour t-shirts on as well, Team Valley Commandos. Here we have the team from North Staffs. Been in this every year that I've been following this race, always partaking and willing to have a go. We've got the Hopeful Six here, been in the race consistently that I've been following it, but ever remain hopeful. The green Ferrari, Kermit as I call it. Okay, this is the discus slot team. Gary Skipp, who organises this whole event. So this is his team. So not only does he organise it, he races in it as well. How does someone get to take part in this race? If you've got a team or whatever, how do they get in it?
When we first started, you just had to say, I'd like to do this. We tell you how much it costs, and then you come and have a go.
And you said it's about £225, is it?
Yeah, it started off as 200, and then we've expanded various aspects of the event.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Now the demand is so high that it's not as simple as just putting your entry in.
Right.
We announce when we're going to open entries.
Yeah.
And at the moment we run a first come first serve system. Right. Which isn't the best.
Okay.
Because it means that people can miss out if they're not at their computer at 1 second past whatever time we say we're going to announce the event.
Okay.
However, we've thoroughly investigated all the possible alternatives.
Right.
And we think this is the best of a bad situation to deal with the demand.
Right.
Ideally, we'd want some sort of qualifying races. And the way things have grown for us, that's actually not too far away now.
Right, okay.
We think within 5 years we can run qualifying races across Europe, for which the best teams will then come to 24 hours.
Wow.
We're not at that stage yet, but it's close. It's close.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And what about spectators? Because at the moment, we go there and it's just the people who are in it. Have you thought about spectators or?
We've thought about it, but the two problems we've got are fitting people in the hall, which is already full of teams and track.
Okay.
And secondly, is people to look after them.
Right.
Because we have a front desk for when the teams arrive.
Right.
But we don't have a 24-hour customer service centre that can deal with spectators.
Yeah. Right. And I suppose you're taking on sort of responsibility again for people to spectate.
I mean, I don't for a second want to sound antisocial or I'd welcome anyone that wants to come and have a look or a chat about it to come and have a look or a chat, but we're at the very limit of what we can deal with. So although we're not saying don't come, what we're not doing is telling people to come.
Yeah, and I suppose it's so intense as well, isn't it? Because you've got people, the teams that are taking part are so. The adrenaline's there, and they don't want to be interrupted, do they? Whereby someone running on going, is that
What's worth remembering is these are teams that have travelled from other parts of the world. Yes. They're spending a lot of money to come and race, which they take very seriously, more than I do. Yes. Because although I'm sure the people watching might think, wow, he takes this seriously, I'm quite laid back about my slot car racing. Right. I can remember that it's a toy at the end of the day, and we're here to have fun. Right. For some people, this is their life. This is what they do.
Stuff.
And for a member of the public who may quite innocently get in the way when the driver's trying to get to the pit, or there's a lot more at stake than there might initially appear to be.
Well, to be honest, to put how serious it is, we've actually got John Granger in the room. I don't know whether we can get the camera around. The trouble you went to win this race was just unbelievable to me. Unbelievable, because you've got Seb Van Elter, isn't it? This young lad, and you found him because he was one of the fastest slot car racers in Europe. And if I remember what you said, you flew out to Holland to meet him and take the car, your car, so that he could test it. And then, once he'd tested it, You then flew him back to the UK to enter the race?
Yeah, kind of. We the whole production of the car took a long time. You know, we probably started making the body in June or July 2016 for a race at the start of April 2017. That was the effort, because the car started out, as you saw, a lot bigger than what we ended up with.
Yeah.
Because we had to shrink it down using various processes. But then also just the chassis development. We looked at what other teams had run. We used that as inspiration, but then drew it.
Yeah.
But then the first one that you draw, it's okay, but you need to open up certain holes, certain things foul, that when you look at it on the screen it looks okay, but if they're pretty close, and it's only when you really run it, and especially with the Ninko track that we race on, it's so bumpy. You know, if you race it on a very smooth track, a lot of the problems that
on
you
the wooden track,
encounter,
right? So you're getting a difference between wooden track and plastic track,
and just very, very, very subtle differences, like even how much the rail protrudes out of the track surface. You know, that affects the whole handling of the car. So we flew over. It's huge, isn't it? It's enormous. So I flew over end of October 2016.
Right.
And met up with two of my teammates, and it was basically just a weekend really of slot car racing, but we focused a lot on the chassis, what we needed to improve. Then we went out again at the end of January for a 6-hour race at Eindhoven, which a lot of the teams competed in. We learnt a lot about that. We learned that we weren't as fast as we thought we were going to be. We weren't as reliable as we thought we were going to be.
It is just phenomenal to go to that length. You know, I don't think people would believe it. You know, people don't believe it. When I tell them, they don't believe that people will go to that length. But then when you watch it, that's when you get it, I think. That's when...
Well, then we flew out again at the start of March for an 8-hour test at the track.
Yeah, you went pre-Le Mans testing.
Yeah, and
which I wanted to join you with, but I couldn't.
And it was great, because what I'd noticed, especially other teams that I'd raced with, but when we entered our own team for the first time in 2016, when we raced the Nissan, we were doing a lot of work on the Friday at the track.
Right.
You know, making sure nothing foul, getting it right. So rather than just sending parcels to each other, it was cheaper for me to fly, deliver the cars, work on it.
But it's still time and effort,
exactly.
You know.
But I mean, for me, this is... I've raced a lot of slot car races in Europe as well as in the UK, and this is the best slot car race, hands down.
Just have a little bit about the night driving. 11 minutes past 10 at night, and the lights have literally just gone out. We're now driving in darkness. So it's 11 o'clock at night.
No, I didn't expect to sleep at all.
Right, okay, and that's what you get. So at least you've had an hour though.
Well, I'm the mechanic, so if the car breaks, I have to fix it.
You're the only person who can fix it.
So I'm standby all the time. Our team captain went to the hotel to sleep for 4.5 hours.
Very nice. Luxury.
What a chicken.
Yes, and what a chicken. And that is, to be honest, I mean, that is the bit that gets me. You know, he's gone to sleep for 4.5 hours. Some people don't sleep at all, and that to me is absolutely mind-boggling that they can do that and sleep on a bench, you know, and sleep on the floor, and it's just, it's a phenomenal human battle to me to do, you know, to do that. I don't know how they do it. I have to go home, but anyway, just a couple of other questions. Have you thought about other places to do this race? Future, you know, different locations, different venues, maybe even in Europe, you know, in other European countries?
I think our friends in Europe would desperately like us to move the Le Mans event to somewhere in Europe.
Right.
We won't.
Okay.
This is something that has a home in Henley and Arden, I think, for the foreseeable future.
Wow.
In terms of other races we're organising, yes, sure, we'll go all over Europe.
Yeah.
We already have the Suzuka 6 Hours, which is in Eindhoven.
Yeah.
We're investigating racing at the Swiss Tile Circuit in Germany, which is a replica of Spa-Francorchamps.
Okay. Oh,
It's an 8-lane wooden 124 scale track.
Okay.
With all the elevation.
Right. Okay.
It's special.
Right.
And we're looking at other things all the time. We're going to Italy in 3 weeks from the recording of this video.
Ferrari's got this track, hasn't he, over in Monza? Is it Monza or?
The track is in Vicenza, but the track is Monza.
It's Monza. Yeah. So that's
the type of racing we're doing is going all over the world.
Right.
Will the Le Mans track go all over the world? No, it won't.
Right. You're focused on Le Mans. What about Formula One? Would you ever consider doing a digital Formula One event?
Yeah, I'd love to, but it's not going to happen in probably a long time, because the two main issues with racing digital Formula One is that the chip, the in-car chip, doesn't fit in a Formula One car. Slot car manufacturers can barely fit the motor in a Formula One car because it doesn't have enough material in the car. The chassis is not big enough. The bodywork is not big enough to actually put things inside it.
Right. Okay.
So I have a prototype Oxygen Formula One car that I've built. It's a Red Bull.
Okay.
And I demoed it. I don't know, John, do you remember me demoing that at your staff? 2-3 years ago. So this is all ancient history. Right. Okay. But one of the things unique to Oxygen is the lap counting system. But that requires a sensor. Yeah. Which again can't be fitted inside a Formula One car because of the shape of it.
I've pretty well covered all of the questions that I had sent to me and that were on my mind. I don't know, I'm going to put it out to the room now. Does anybody have any questions on this that they would like to ask Gary about this event?
Would you make it a 4-day event?
4-day event?
4 days.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Whoa! That would add a considerable amount to the fee we have to pay for the hall. So the real answer to that question is, would teams be willing to pay £350 to come and race? Yeah. And if the answer is yes, then yeah, I'll make it a 4-day event. Well, I've personally got no problems doing that, but
I think yeah.
I already have a week. Do you know? Yeah. But for me, it would make no difference.
Another question: would you put more scenery on it if more people could help put it down?
Would you put more scenery? Just checking that because I might not pick it up. But yeah, would you put more scenery on it?
That's a very complex question to answer, although it sounds like a simple one. The key thing you added, Steve, was if you had more help to put it down. So that makes it more of an appealing thing to do. I currently think we're at the limit of what we can do with the resource we have, and also in terms of getting it to and from the circuit. So we can't take more stuff, we can't put more stuff down with the resource we have, and we can't put it all away again and take it back with us. If someone else was to turn up with a wagon full of scenery and put it everywhere themselves, it would probably still require me to say you've put that in the wrong place. But but yes, that's more of an appealing prospect. I still gut instinct feel we can't do any more than what we do. If we want to go next level, of which there are many levels to go, we need a permanent circuit.
When you look at the finishing order, like with you guys this year being in the GT car and finishing so high up compared to the P1 and the P2s, would you ever, and the P2s seem to be the slower cars.
Yes.
With all the changes in regulations in the real LMP2, would you ever give them a bigger differentiation in the motor because the P2s don't really appear where they should do?
That's an interesting question, John, because the way the FIA World Endurance Championship has gone over the last 2 or 3 years, the P2s are now in fact nearly as quick as the P1s, rather than are they any quicker than a GT. Yes, they are by miles now. Our formula was always designed so that P2 and GT could race together. So if we want to replicate now what's going on in the WEC, yes, we ought to change that. I don't think we should at the moment. I think it's too early. Maybe in 3 to 5 years, 24 months, 3 to 5 years, we would look at adjusting P2. A lot of people, to be honest, I'll say this now, adjusting the specs for P2 is the most common suggestion or question I get from a technical point of view. Speaking to the P2 teams and within ourselves as a body, we're happy with the balance and we're not looking at changing it.
Interesting. Okay, good.
I heard a rumour that we were going to be able to flash our lights to warn someone that we're going to pass. I was wondering if that could ever be put in place.
Yes, very easily.
So that's you to flash your lights so that.
So that you can, well, it's what racing drivers do.
Yeah.
If they're coming up on a slower car,
they can flash the lights to.
Pure bullying.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So will you be allowed to flash your lights?
You can do it now, as I discovered watching John's car in Eindhoven when Seb was driving it, and he did it quite by accident because of the circumstances of the race. Yes, it's definitely possible.
Could next year be a wet race?
A wet race?
Sorry,
how would that work?
There are 3 options for wet weather. The first one is simulation.
Okay,
which
is simulate. So the question is, can we simulate wet weather in a race? That is an interesting
systems
interesting.
that I would describe as toy systems.
Yeah,
have a simulation mode called wet weather, which reduces the braking efficiency of the motor.
Okay.
It increases the throttle sensitivity. So what that does is it will spin your wheels up faster, but you'll lose all the braking.
Okay.
So nothing happens, just the car behaves differently.
Yeah.
As if it was
in wet. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I'm not interested in running simulation in any aspect of the races that I organise.
Okay.
Because I personally feel that I don't need to.
Right.
The cars break down and wear out and do all the things that the simulation tries to achieve.
Yes.
But as is real
time.
So we don't need to simulate it.
Yeah.
Secondly, the other option, there's a company called Mitus, and they make climate tyres.
Right.
Now that sounds fancy, but they're just tyres that are harder or softer or have certain characteristics in the tread that make the tyre behave differently on the track. That's an option. Probably not going to do that because we have a partnership with Slotted who supply all our tyres.
And you'd have to get everyone to change their tyres at pretty well the same time as well. They have to all come in, change the tyres to simulate, because obviously once it starts pouring down with rain, it affects everyone at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a real management nightmare, I would have thought.
The third option, which is the craziest one, is that we change the track to Carrera and pour water all over it. Because Carrera track has stainless steel rails.
But surely short circuit, it's electric.
No, it won't. It will be fine.
You serious?
It's been done.
What?
It's been done.
You can pour water.
There are rally circuits that have water splashes.
Yeah, I think we should make clear for anyone viewing this: don't do that at home. Just don't do that at home, because you'll probably get an electric shock. But really, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's possible. You can use things like deionized water as well, which is perfectly safe around electrical circuits.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, real water.
Right.
If you were going to go nuts, is possible as well.
Wow.
So, would I do any of those 3 things? No, I wouldn't go near it either.
Right, fair enough. And it would probably destroy some people's cars as well, because then you've got water, of course, getting into the system of the car.
That's very true. Yeah.
In the chipset, it's going to just destroy the cars, I guess, as well. So, but I think that's been really, really interesting. A real eye opener for me. It has been a real eye opener, and then the whole following the whole event's been a real eye opener. So I appreciate your time on that, Gary, and I think round of applause really for Gary Skipp. Excellent. Look forward to seeing the next year. Right. So what's your favourite car?
My favourite car is a Dodge Viper. I've only ever seen one of them in real life.
Right. Excellent. Right. Okay. Let's try that.